over here on the grassy knoll right at Pikes Peak, where we usually do the concerts in the park. We have an issue going on currently. Just got a Nixle. In case you're not familiar with Nixle, you need to sign up for it. You get all kinds of announcements. Norco, virulent Newcastle disease quarantine imposed in surrounding areas. No Newcastle cases in Norco, but be aware. The fair is going to probably put a sanction on fowl. No birds, no turkeys, no chickens, no parrots, no anything, and the pet parade will probably follow suit. We've got to make sure our town stays safe with the Newcastle. So the pet parade has been going on for like 50 some odd years. It's a hoot. You dress up your dog, your cat, your fish, used to be chickens, your horses, your zebras, your turtles, your iguanas, okay, your goats, like you. Whatever you have a passion for. If you like to play baseball, put your animal in a baseball. You're going to parade before the judges. I'm one of the announcers. I'm not a judge, but I will ask you questions like, let me see some tricks, where did they come from, that sort of a thing. And then we have trophies and participation ribbons for everyone. It's so much fun. And then our parade on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning down 6th Street, we will have, you can ride in the back of the trailer if you'd like, if you participated in the pet parade. So it's a lot of fun. Please take the flyer home. Your kids and grandkids want to be there. Come out and show some participation. And it's all part of the fair. And Mark, what would you like to add here?
You said it all.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And make sure that you're safe with your Newcastle and your own yard.
Thank you, Denise. Continuing with our agenda, I would like to have our council member Greg Newton come up with a city council update.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good to see a good crowd. First, I'd like to few introductions of our city council, so you guys can corner us if you'd like to. Mayor Ted Hoffman, stand up in the back there, waving his hand. Mayor Pro Tem Robin Grunmeyer. Councilmember Berwin Hanna. And Councilmember Kevin Bash. So what I'm going to do is give you a couple of updates, what your council has been working on. And since the last town hall meeting, which was back in January, our council actions include, we have accepted the Norco MDP line. This is an N1F storm drain project as complete. This storm drain project consists of new storm drains on Temescal Avenue between 7th and River Drive. And then we also completed the N7 storm drain project, which is Reservoir Drive. This storm drain ran down Valley View, Reservoir Drive, and then across several private properties. So both those are major storm drain projects that have been completed. We have updated the city's urban forest specifications and standards. Some of the key issues reviewed and updated included updating the language to the Norco Municipal Code, removing trees from the approved street tree list that were not compatible with Norco or imposed various health risks to either people or to animals. And then we added a specific list of approved trees suitable for planting under wires, phone lines, and added updated tree images and tree characteristics for the general public use. So we're making progress on the trees and trying to not see what you see with Edison when they go out there and they butcher those trees. So we're trying to get a little better control over that. Thanks to our Streets and Trails Commission and our City Council, we approved a comprehensive trail master plan and trail circulation map. The primary purpose of developing this plan was to establish overall goals, how the city's trail system should be developed and maintained, including the identification of various trails that currently exist throughout the city. And also with this was developing a component for the maintenance standards of the various trail types. We have also awarded contracts for the installation of new storm drains, catch basins, and road resurfacing on Bluff Avenue between River Road and Vine Street, as well as Corona Avenue between 1st and 2nd Street. And then we're also going to be starting the installation of new trail fencing on California Avenue. And then also there's some various locations included with that. Let's see. Okay, so we conducted several public study sessions regarding financial projections and several budget workshops regarding the city's budget. On June 20th, the council adopted the City of Norco operating budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 and our capital improvement budget for fiscal years 2019 through 2023. And this budget information is available on the city's information table right over here and on the city website. So we now have some community highlights and upcoming events. Our community outreach tour. New dates have been added to the community outreach tour. All Norco residents are invited to visit the City Hall pop-up booth at any of the local tour stops, which include the Norco Certified Farmers Market, concerts in the park, Day of the Cowboy. Did you want me to get this for you, Pat? So I'm going to digress for a second because that phone made me think of it. So about a week ago, my wife comes along and hits me up the back of the side of the head. And she goes, "Who's Daisy?" And I go, "Daisy?" I go, "Oh, you know, I went to the track the other day and that was a horse that I bet." "Oh, okay." So everything was good. And so the other day I was sitting reading the newspaper and she comes up and she whops me up the side of the head again. And I go, "What's this for?" And she goes, "Daisy's on the phone." So made me think of that. Anyways, so we got our outreach tour, Day of the Cowboy, and the Norco Fair. And you can get all that information also at the table there. Tomorrow, we have Coffee with the Cop on July 11th. All community members are invited to come discuss community issues, build relationships, and enjoy a cup of coffee with our deputies from the Norco Sheriff's Office. This will be from 9 o'clock to 11:30 at the Rose Eldridge Senior Center, and there is a flyer available at the table also. And at this time, I'd like to introduce, not to speak though, our Chief of Police, Eric Briddick. Saw you somewhere, Eric, in the back. And also from the Urupa Valley Station, Captain Dan Hedge. Okay, so beautification awards, they're due on July 12th. The nomination period for the 2018 Norco Pride Beautification Awards closes this Thursday, July 12th. Nominate your own property or someone else's in various categories, which include Most Improved Residential, Best Residential Appearance, Best Western Design, Best Water Use, and Best Commercial Appearance, Public Art, and Best Reflection of the Norco Ranch Lifestyle. And there is an application also on the table. The cooling center at Senior Center, Rose Eldridge Senior Center, is activated as a cooling center during periods of excess of heat where temperatures reach 97 degrees or higher. And you can find more information on that on the city website. And then we have the National Night Out on August 7th. National Night Out will be held in the Target parking lot in Eastvale. And stay tuned for more information on that. And then one other note I wanted to follow up with, because there's been some questions on this construction activity. This is called the Shea Ranch Project, and it's in the southwest corner of Fifth Street and Horseless Carriage. This project consists of 4 light industrial buildings on 22.9 acres from approximately 77,000 square feet to 159,000 square feet. The developer is currently moving material for rough grading and is working with engineering on grading plans for infrastructure and various pad elevations. Building permits have been approved by engineering and planning, and revisions are taking place as we speak. So, next town hall meeting is Monday, October 22nd. And I would like now to introduce our head of animal control, Frank, for a few words. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Scagamiglio. I am the current superintendent of Norco Animal Control Services, and I'd like to briefly update you all on the current. Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Again, I was saying my name is Frank Scagamiglio. I'm the current superintendent of Norco Animal Control Services, and I'd like to briefly update everyone, excuse me, on the current outbreak of Newcastle disease here in California. The California Department of Food and Agriculture Department has put under quarantine parts of San Bernardino County and Riverside County at this time. There are no current cases of Newcastle disease here in Norco, and I would like to keep it like that. The best way to do that is to limit movement of birds, meaning that you don't want to take any birds onto your property while we're under this current quarantine, and you don't want to be moving your birds off your property. Every time you do that, you run the risk of spreading the disease. And we don't want to do that. So limit your movement of your birds is the best way to prohibit the spread of disease here in Norco. And that's my update for now. If you have any questions, I'll be in the back. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have in regards to Newcastle. And I thank you for your time.
Never a dull moment in this place. Our councilperson, Greg Newton, told us about some of the things that are happening. I always encourage all of our rural members, please attend the city council and the commission meetings in person if you can. It's one of the ways to eliminate some of the social media misinformation that gets spread out on, I think it's called Facebook. I don't know, I'm not on it. But if you attend those meetings in person, you will hear not only in first person the discussion between the city council people, because you know they're not supposed to, due to the Brown Act, discuss some of these things amongst themselves. So sometimes they don't know what each other's even thinking on a given topic, pro or con, until they get into the city council meeting and have their very interesting debate, and then they vote. And then you've got it firsthand, and then you'll know why some of the decisions are made. There's also so many social things happening in Norco. I wish I had a list with me now of what's going on at Ingalls Park on any given weekend. I have a saying that is, if you're bored in Norco, it's your own fault. There's something going on all the time that you can enjoy, the lifestyle, and get involved if you happen to have that kind of an animal or an interest or whatever. At this time, I'd like to have our city manager, Andy Okoro, come up. And Brian Petrie, are you going to be joining him or just listening? Thank you very much. And please give Andy your close attention.
Thank you, Pat and Rural, for hosting this evening's town hall meeting. Thank you all also for coming out this evening to participate in this important discussion regarding the city of Norco. You know, town hall meeting is a great example of civic engagement. It provides a forum for all of us to get together like we are doing right now to get information pertaining to issues that are very critical or important to the city of Norco. It is also a great forum for you to provide input as well as feedback to your city council as well as city officials to help shape policy decisions that impact the city of Norco. One of the topics that we're about to discuss this evening is a challenge that we face as a community. It's not a challenge that is just the city council or city officials can solve by themselves. It's a challenge that requires all of us to come together as a community to address the issue that we are facing. Again, the topic is really, Pat spoke a little bit about that, is preserving Norco, keeping Norco, preserving the lifestyle that we come here to live for, and that we, all of us, cherish this. And the challenge, of course, that we have is finding enough money to preserve that lifestyle, as well as to preserve the services that support that lifestyle, whether it's public safety services, as well as the infrastructure that supports that lifestyle. Our trails, our roads, our streets, all these are critical infrastructure that we need to protect and preserve this lifestyle that every one of us is so proud of. And that's why we're here this evening to talk with you as community, to get your input and to answer any questions that you might have regarding a proposal that is going to come before the City Council on July 18th. And that, of course, is a proposal that will recommend that the City Council authorize for a 1 cent increase in sales tax in the city of Norco to be placed on the ballot for November 6th, so that you, the voters here in the city of Norco, can make a decision regarding that measure. Our purpose this evening is to discuss with you why we believe that measure is important to the city of Norco, and to you all as a community, and for what we need to do to protect the city of Norco and preserve this important lifestyle. This is the essence of what we need to protect. This is a very beautiful picture of a neighborhood here in the city of Norco. And that is what we've come here to live for, and that's what we've come here to enjoy. And we want to continue to enjoy this lifestyle that is so dear to all of us. But today, protecting that lifestyle is becoming a lot more difficult than it has been in the past. So we are facing a situation where, again, the community needs to come together to provide a solution so that we can continue to provide the systems that support this lifestyle. The issues that we are facing, number one, is how do we generate enough money to fund our city infrastructure? By that, I mean our roads, our trails, our streets, and other public facilities that we have here in the city, including this one where we are. I see a lot of you are feeling the heat here in the city, in this Nelly Weaver Hall. Part of that is obviously the infrastructure is not up to par, and the air condition is probably not working as well as it could be working. But our infrastructure is so critical to what we do in the city of Norco and to the preservation of this lifestyle we enjoy as a city. And as a result of that, back in 2014, the City Council commissioned an ad hoc committee on infrastructure needs and funding options. The purpose of that committee was to study our needs as a city with respect to preserving our infrastructure. How much money do we need on an annual basis to adequately maintain and keep our infrastructure, our roads, our streets, our trails, and other public facilities after over 14 months of studies, looking at every data that are provided by city staff. The ad hoc committee provided a report to the City Council in 2015, and that report identified that at that particular time the city needs an additional $4 million per year in order to adequately fund our infrastructure needs. Similarly, our police, fire and emergency medical services all face significant reductions due to rising costs and inadequate revenues to provide those services. Prior to the recession that hit the city and hit everywhere in the state and across this nation, in 2008, 2009, we lost several positions in the police department. For example, we used to have 4 dedicated motorcycle officers. With that recession, all of that program was eliminated. None is currently in place. We also used to have 2 dedicated traffic enforcement officers here across the city of Norco. That also was eliminated because of the impact of that recession to the city of Norco and to the city's revenue base. In order to preserve this horse-town USA lifestyle, Norco needs new revenue sources, and that requires everybody in the community to support come together to find a way to generate these new revenues that the city needs in order to continue to provide adequate level of policing, as well as to continue to fund our infrastructure. So the question might be asked is, how did the city of Norco get here? This obviously did not happen overnight. As I pointed out earlier, the recession did have a significant impact on the city of Norco in terms of our revenue base. For example, our sales tax revenue went from $6.2 million a year prior to the recession to $3.1 million during the recession. So that was a significant impact on the city revenue. And quite frankly, the city has been trying to recover since that period of time. So even though prior city council, as well as city staff and city officials, we have all managed very prudently in terms of trying to live within our means as a city. However, that situation is becoming very difficult to manage and as well as maintain the services that are at minimum levels to protect the residents here in the city of Norco and to provide for our infrastructure funding. This is not because as a city we haven't done a lot of the things we need to do. Part of what has impacted us is the state of California, taking away a lot of revenues that typically would go to cities that are generated here locally in the city. And that revenue is split disproportionately, with most of it going to the state rather than the city to provide for local services here in the city of Norco. Additionally, the city of Norco, we are 14 square miles. However, we only have 7,500 rooftops here in the city and approximately 24,000 people. So naturally, the tax base here for the city of Norco is very low compared to cities of equal size of 14 square miles that could have as many as 80,000, 75 to 80,000 people. So again, and for us, the elimination of the redevelopment agency by Governor Brown in 2012 had a significant impact on the city of Norco. As a result of that action by the state, Norco lost millions of dollars, and these are the source of money that the city used to fund its infrastructure needs prior to the redevelopment agency being dissolved. Again, I talked a little bit about the Great Recession, which had severe negative impacts here on businesses that are here in the city of Norco, and at the same time had some significant negative impact on city revenue business. The issue that we are facing is not unique to the city of Norco. It is issues that cities across the state are facing. A lot of the cities, however, have done what we are going to be recommending for the city council to put on the ballot for the residents to decide, and that is to adopt locally controlled revenues that cannot be taken by the state or that cannot be shared with anyone. Those revenues will be kept here in the city and used to provide essential services only to Norco residents. A lot of cities have already done that, and even cities that have a stronger tax base than the city of Norco. And one other thing that there is always this misconception that the city of Norco generates a lot of tax revenues. And even though it's true that a lot of tax revenues come out from the city of Norco, most of those tax revenues actually go to the state or to other public entities. As an example, one of the things I want to talk about is some of you might believe that a significant portion of the income tax that you pay comes back to the city of Norco to be used to provide local services here in the city of Norco. If you're an employee anywhere, you receive paychecks, you pay income taxes to the state of California. If you're a business owner here in the city of Norco and you make profit on your business, you also pay income taxes to the state of California. These are taxes that are paid by Norco residents or by businesses that operate here in the city of Norco. But here is the truth, is that none of that income tax you pay to the state of California comes back to the city of Norco to be used to provide essential local services here in the city of Norco. Another misconception is property tax. Everyone here is also familiar with property tax. Every one of us, if you own a home here in the city of Norco, you pay property tax to the county on an annual basis or semi-annual basis, or that is impounded as part of your monthly mortgage payment. And a lot of property tax revenue is, quite frankly, generated from here in the city of Norco because property values are high, even though we don't have the rooftops and the number of houses to make it higher. But if we just kept a good portion of what is generated here in the city of Norco, the city would not be in a situation where it is today in terms of lacking funds to provide essential city services as well as to maintain city infrastructure. So as an example, 6% of all the property taxes that are collected here on parcels of real estate parcels that are located here in the city, only 6% of that comes to the city's general fund to help pay for public safety services, to help pay for park and rec programs, senior programs, administrative services, and other vital services that the city provides to Norco residents by being a city. This is an illustration of the issue we are dealing with. If you own a house here in Norco and your house is worth $540,000, the 1% property tax you pay to the county on an annual basis is $5,400. Out of that amount, the amount that comes to the city of Norco is $324 on an annual basis. The rest of that taxes must go to other public entities. Here's a chart that provides a breakdown of how that property tax is distributed. This is for fiscal year 2016-2017, nearly $31 million to be exact, about $30.7 million in property taxes were collected from Norco residents because of their ownership of property here in the city of Norco. But only 1.6 million of that came into the city's general fund to be used to provide essential city services. That is the 6% we are talking about. And that is not enough, obviously, to help the city meet its financial obligations in terms of providing essential city services as well as funding our infrastructure. The rest of these taxes go to other public agencies and the county. Similarly, a sales tax is another misconception that all the sales tax you currently pay here in the city of Norco that are generated here from businesses that collect sales tax on taxable transactions, all of that comes to the city of Norco. That is also not correct. Only the city gets 1% of the sticker price of the sales tax that is collected of the sticker price of of the cost of the item that that is taxable. So even though the current sales tax rate here in the city of Norco is 7.75%, the city gets 1 out of that 7.75%. So as an example, if you go to the boot barn here in the city of Norco and you purchase a cowboy hat for $100, the 1% generates $1 to the city of Norco, even though you pay $7.75 in total sales tax. The good thing is because Norco has been very creative in terms of bringing in the auto mall, bringing in a lot of small businesses here in Norco that generate sales tax. The revenue we receive from sales tax is the largest revenue category to the general fund, accounting for about 36% of the total revenue that goes into the general fund for providing local municipal services. Again, this is numbers are from 2016, 2017. In that year, a total of over $50 million in sales tax revenues were collected from here in the city of Norco. The city's share of that was $6.5 million. That is how much came into the city treasury to be used to pay for services as well as provide for infrastructure funding. So how can we fix this problem? That is essentially why we're here this evening to engage the community. As I stated at the beginning of this discussion here, this requires the community to come together as a community and find ways to generate these additional revenues to help meet the funding gap that the city currently has. So the proposal that the City Council will be acting upon on July 18th, which is a week from this Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, will be a recommendation that the City Council would authorize to be placed on the ballot on November 6th to raise the sales tax rate here in the city of Norco by 1%. And what that will do is it will take the sales tax rate here in the city of Norco from the current 7.75% to 8.75%. And what that means is that the city will get 2% of the sticker price on all taxable items that are sold here in the city of Norco. There is a little bit of a difference in the way that the purchase of automobiles or transportation-related items are handled with respect to this add-on sales tax. But other than that, all taxable items that the city will be collecting 2% on the value of those taxable items that are sold here in the city of Norco. The estimate is that this will generate about $4.5 million annually to be invested in community assets, as well as vital services that improve the quality of life here in the city of Norco, as well as increase property values. The proposed increase will generate most money with the least impact on Norco residents. And here's what we mean by that. There are obviously several other options that the City Council could consider by way of this tax measure, one of which could be a parcel tax. A parcel tax would be additional property tax, if you describe it that way, is additional property tax on your home. And because of the fact that we have limited number of rooftops here in the city, in order to generate about $4.5 million, that tax rate will be very high. It will amount to about $500 per household or per house here in the city of Norco. And the other big disadvantage of going that route is this tax will be, the burden of it would be borne entirely by Norco residents. With sales tax, a lot of the sales tax revenues that are collected here in the city are paid by people who come to Norco to shop and to dine and to spend money here in the Norco. They will contribute to that revenue. Additionally, the City Council could also consider what is called utility users tax. This is a tax on the use of utilities. For example, the tax could be placed on the use on your electric bill, on your gas bill, on your water bill, sewer bill, or cable television bill. And again, that tax, in order to generate enough revenues, would require a high rate, and the burden of that will also be borne entirely by Norco residents. And again, that would not be the right thing to do for the city of Norco. So the revenue that will be generated from this proposal, if it's approved by the voters in November, the revenues will go to fund investments in streets, roads, trails, equestrian facilities, as well as park and public buildings. The revenue will also go towards funding vital community services like fire, emergency medical services, and police protection. The revenue will be used to support services also that enhance the quality of neighborhoods, as well as increase property values here in the city of Norco. What would happen if we don't act to pass this revenue measure or find other sources of revenue? The most likely thing that will happen is our open space, our miles of horse trails, our large lot sizes, and key community assets, they will all be in jeopardy. Also, police as well as fire services, which have, in the case of police services that have experienced significant reductions as a result of the recession, that would also face additional reductions in order to make sure that the city is able to pay for the services that are provided. Again, loss of programs and potential closure of parks, trails, and facilities in community assets, further reductions in police, fire, and emergency medical services, including potential closure of a fire station. That is a very significant thing to be concerned about. We currently have 2 fire stations here in the city of Norco, covering 14 square miles. Each one of those stations currently costs the city about $2.1 million annually. And if we have to make that type of significant reduction in the city's budget, that could require us to close one fire station. And the difficulty in doing that is then we will be left with 1 fire station here in the city covering area of 14 square miles. And there are some questions as whether CAL FIRE, who currently contracts with the city to provide fire services, will be able to provide that services to the city of Norco under that scenario in order to protect the safety of their employees. There are minimum levels of staffing that would be required, and having 1 station may not meet that requirement. And again, that will impact our ability to attract as well as retain new businesses here in the city of Norco, and the quality of life, the quality of neighborhoods, as well as property values will be negatively impacted if we are not able to maintain minimum levels of service. So where do we go from here? Again, as I said at the beginning, is a time for the community to come together and address this issue in the least impactful way to the community. Again, we have some information here pertaining to frequently asked questions and answers on this revenue measure, but that is our My City email address. If you have any questions, please send them to me. We want you to get as much information on this measure as possible to get the correct information. We believe if you have the right information, you will make the right decision for what is best for this community. But I will open it up for questions. Okay, I'll go back there, Nova.
Wait a minute, wait.
Can you share about the oversight committee, please?
Yes, so part of the way this revenue measure is being structured is it has a provision that will require a citizens oversight committee to oversee that all the monies generated from this measure are properly accounted and spent in the way that is designed to be spent. The oversight committee will be responsible for advising the city council on the budget priorities to which these monies will be allocated. Again, once if the measure is successful, the city council will, by a resolution, adopt a resolution establishing an oversight committee and appointing members of the community into that oversight committee, and that oversight committee will be responsible again for making sure that the money is properly used, and they will be recommending to the city council which projects and which programs that this money generated from this measure will be allocated to.
My question is, 1% of that, you say what there's going to give the Norco people, how much is that is going to go towards salaries and stuff? Do you have any idea?
No, so I don't have a specific number in terms of how much will go to salaries, but this is the big picture. The city of Norco, we are one of the least staffed cities, full service cities in the whole state of California. We have approximately 53 full-time employees that work for the city, providing the services. We contract out for fire, we contract out for police. And so our budget for salaries for city staff is very low. And it is not anticipated that much, if any, of the revenue generated from this measure will go towards salaries. Our primary objective is to generate money to fund the city's needs on infrastructure, as well as to cover public safety needs.
I have a question, and the question is that when I look at the governor of the state of California with 40 million people and the size of the state, is that you make as much money as he do, and you're only looking at 20,000 people and 14 square miles. How come?
The question is, how come I make more money than the governor of the state of California? And so I like to say that the amount of money that the city pays to its employees is commensurate, is comparable favorably to the salaries and benefits that are received by employees working elsewhere in other cities. And in fact, to a great extent, oftentimes we, based on salary surveys, that our salary is oftentimes below the average in the area. And so again, it's something that is determined by the marketplace, and we want to make sure that we recruit and retain good employees here in the city of Norco. And even in the public sector, in the private sector, the salaries that are paid to local government employees, city employees, are very comparable, and to some extent, oftentimes are lower. You may read through the California Transparency website in terms of what city employees receive or local government employees receive by way of salaries and benefits. The reality of that is that these salaries and benefits are, again, comparable to what you see in the private sector, where
the state of California has the highest tax rates, the highest thing in the country, and you're part of it, and that's disgusting.
question has to do with the police force, that 2 of the full-time traffic officers have been eliminated. How much revenue did we get out of any of those traffic tickets that were generated by those people?
Yeah, good
And the thing is, I about get run down every time I drive through this whole city. The speed limit in a residential zone is 25 miles per hour, not 50, not 35, not 40. We could make a fortune just sitting people right behind Norco High School. They go 50 miles an hour down there all the time. And I know that the traffic officers had done a really good job in controlling that. It's ridiculous.
So the good news is this, is one of those dedicated traffic officer position was restored to the current year budget. And that position actually was filled and started work last week. So that is the good news. But the bad news is we are still a long way from where we need to be in terms of, I will address that question. In terms of the revenue, the issue is not really when the city council makes, or any public entity for that matter, any local government makes a decision in terms of staff and public safety. The issue is not revenues that are generated. The issue is really public safety. So that is what drives that decision. With respect to the amount of revenues that are generated by deploying these traffic officers, the revenues that actually comes back into the city of Norco is very minimal. It doesn't. Yes, the rest of that money actually goes to the state and to the county. The city. That decision is made by a group of judges in Sacramento in terms of how that revenue is allocated.
Hi, over here. Andy.
Yes.
Hi, Danielle here. Curiosity question that a lot of people are asking, and I said I would ask here. With regards to this request for an increase in taxes, one, a lot of us really don't trust how the city has managed the funds that we've already given you. Therefore, we've ended up in this pit that we're in. So the city wants us to say, okay, we're going to go for this idea of increasing the taxes. But we don't want it to just go anywhere. Perhaps a specific use tax, that's something that people might get behind. And then there needs to be a cutoff clause inside there. But I do not think, I know I will not vote for a general use just to give you guys an increase in monies to spend the way you've spent it. Over the decades that we've been here, I mean, the city has gone from having money to falling in this pit that we're in. So can you answer either of those questions?
I'll start with the issue of the trust and transparency. The city is very transparent in terms of where the city money comes from and where it's spent. Our budget process is very transparent. We have public hearings, study sessions, comprehensive study sessions to discuss the budget, which determines how the money is allocated. In addition to that, we publish every quarter quarterly financial reports that shows where the city's monies comes from and where it goes to. In addition to that, on an annual basis, the city goes through an independent audit that verifies where the money comes from and where it goes to, and to make sure that those monies are properly accounted for. So that is the issue of trust in terms of and the issue of transparency. The city is very transparent. All of the information pertaining to the city's revenues and expenditures are publicly available information. We issue a comprehensive annual financial report on an annual basis that provides that information. We also publish the annual budget that provides that information. The other question she asked was specific revenue measure versus general revenue measure. And that is the option that is available is that this can be structured as a specific revenue measure or as a general revenue measure. The recommendation right now is to structure it as a general revenue measure, understanding that there will be a provision for continued annual independent audit, the Citizens Oversight Committee to see where these monies are allocated and to make sure that those monies are spent in those areas where they are allocated. The difficulty with structuring something as a specific revenue measure is that going in, you box yourself, you put yourself in a box, okay? And that is not a wise thing to do. And you're saying, I am only going to spend this money on streets or on trails or whatever the parameters are. And notwithstanding what happens to the economic situation, the change in dynamics, the budget priorities, if the city needs to pay for additional police officers to address issues in the neighborhood that are affecting quality of life, then the city cannot do that. Keep in mind, what you have today on the city council or on the city staff may not be the same people that are here tomorrow or 2 years from now. So as a community, do we want to box ourselves in that box, put ourselves in that box where we don't have the flexibility to adjust based on the changing economic situations? And that's what I'm asking for.
Okay, so my big issue, of course, is also salaries, which obviously everyone else is talking about. And the fact that the city is so short-staffed, and I was just looking up salaries from last year. We have 2 maintenance workers that combined made about $35,000 in overtime. To me, that would be another part-time worker.
Exactly.
So on top of the fact that, yeah, I think you're a little bit overpaid. I know you are doing currently 2 jobs as a finance manager as well as the manager of the city, but I think our finances need to be completely out of this 1% tax measure entirely. I don't necessarily know if a special fund is the way to go because it is so regulatory, but if we do it as a general fund, it needs to be a complete stay on either increases of salaries or it does not include salaries at all in the budget.
Let me
more not really a
address
question, but
Let me respond to the issue of the 2 maintenance workers doing overtime. Overtime is an essential part of what maintenance workers do. These are the people who respond to water main breaks in the community, to issues of emergency in the community, things that cannot wait because of public safety concerns. In terms of whether we could use that $35,000 or $45,000, whatever the amount is, to hire additional staff, that would actually not end up being physically prudent. The reason being that maintenance worker, full-time employee also receives benefits in terms of pension retirement, in terms of health retirement. So these are legacy costs that the city would have to bear on top of the salaries that are paid to that employee. With overtime, these employees only get those benefits once and for all, and those benefits do not increase as a result of them working overtime. So we look at those situations, and as it turns out, in order to respond to those emergencies, these are the most fiscally prudent way to staff for those positions.
Other cities enacting sales tax in counties where they have the increase, but it's on a temporary basis, let's say 3 to 5 years. Is Norco looking at this being on a permanent or temporary?
So the question is whether there is some sort of a sunset clause in this revenue measure that that is coming up. There is no specific sunset clause in the revenue measure. However, the measure is structured in a way that the voters of the city of Norco can vote at any time to end that measure.
Who put that on the ballot? As far as the voter, who puts it on the ballot?
Well, there are several ways it can happen. A future city council can put that on the ballot for you to repeal it or to vote it out, or a group of residents can get together and get enough signatures to place it on the ballot.
I have a comment and support for the tax. Just for a little background. Is it back up? Okay. I've come back to Norco, and it's a lifestyle we're trying to preserve here. I'm in real estate business. I do escrows. And the developers are coveted in this area, just so you know. And if you want to lose this lifestyle, you want to lose the ability to own your animals and your horses and have the trails, I don't see another way, because it's the smartest way, just to increase the sales tax. Because it's not just us, it's people coming into Norco purchasing things. But always remember, this is a unique community that we're here to preserve. And I don't want to see this go away, because I see communities grow and go beyond, and Norco is very unique. And this is what we're fighting for, okay?
Thank you for your patience and waiting for the microphone. I appreciate it.
My question is, how much of a reserve in savings does Norco have? The city of Norco? And how many savings accounts do they have?
All the city money is kept in one pooled investment account. But I'll go back to your reserve in terms of what the city has. So the general fund, which is the city's main operating fund, that is where money is. That's where we pay for public safety services, police, fire, park and rec programs, senior citizens, administrative services.
Voted on for the budget.
Yeah, that general fund has currently over $10 million in reserve.
And then the savings for that?
So, but here is the issue, okay? Why we cannot depend on that $10 million to be the source of funding for all the projected shortfall that the city is looking at. We had similar situation back in 2003. In 2008, 2009, before the recession hit. It only took about 3 years for that entire reserve that the city had built to be wiped out because our revenues just were not coming in. Okay. In addition, the key issue here that we are looking at is how do we fund our streets, our trails, our roads, our public facilities, where the city currently does not have any money reserved to do that work. Okay, the only money we currently receive to fund infrastructure is monies that come from Riverside County Transportation Commission, approximately about $700,000 annually. The total needs of the city to fund infrastructure that was revised based on the financial projections we studied with the city council recently is over $5 million. And so we have this gap in infrastructure funding that needs to be addressed.
How much money do the builders have to pay in taxes and?
I can't hear you. I'm going to ask you to hold on to that question, ma'am. We can't hear you. We can maybe limit the questions to one per person. And we can get a lot of people. Oh, you're up.
Andy, could you explain the difference in